Natasha, and if you're watching this video, welcome to my Chiron series. So I will be doing the intro of what is Chiron, and then for each individual sign for each video, as well as how it might be playing out within each of the 12 houses for that actual zodiac sign. So stay tuned, please subscribe and like this video or share it with someone that you may find that it may help them. So we all have Chiron in our chart. So what is Chiron? So Chiron is basically the wounded healer. In a nutshell, it is the area where we just feel inadequate in, we just suck at, we don't know why, and it is something that it will just keep coming up throughout our lifetime in some way, shape, or form. Usually it's stronger kind of earlier in life, and hopefully if you work on it and heal it over time, it will be a little bit lighter and not as impactful or awkward for you. And when you heal it, it is actually your superpower, and it is something that you are really good at in its own way, and it is something that you can help other people who struggle with in this area as well, if that made any sense. I am a Chiron in Gemini in the 9th house, so if you want to look at that video or in my past videos, I have a video on that and how that kind of plays out. So you'll often see me stumbling with words, because Gemini is learning, speaking, reading, writing, and learning, and so that seems to be a thing for me. So I'm sorry about that. It keeps coming up. But when I was really young, I was practically a mute and I did not speak at all. So you can see over the years that is, not the case, and I may be able to communicate things to you in a way that maybe other people may not be able to communicate with, or more patient when it comes to learning disabilities, speaking impediments, things like that. So hopefully you find this video informative in the way that I express it, if other videos are not necessarily hitting it for you. So Chiron is just basically that zodiac sign and where it is placing in whatever house it is for you, how it's acting out, or what area in life that Chiron placement is wounding you, or where you have been wounded early on in life and it's kind of affected you in whatever decisions you made, or fear-based mentalities, whatever, things that kind of led from one thing to another over time, if you've kept ignoring it and not addressing it, because it is scary and it's uncomfortable, it doesn't feel good. Sometimes you don't even know how to resolve it because like you're awkward at it. And so, knowing where your Chiron placement is and what sign it is can help you feel like, there's nothing wrong with you. This is just something that you were born with, that you came here to learn as a human being here on Earth School, and for your soul to kind of overcome and resolve in your own way. So this way you can help other people, because when we interact with other human beings on this planet, where we all go through human struggles, no matter what it looks like on the outside, you can bring this superpower, this quality that is very unique and personal to you, to help someone else and empathize with someone else, who's going through the same thing, or a friend whose child is going through something like that and they don't know what to do. You bring this special quality if you're able to heal it, and work on it. So that is basically what Chiron is. It was like a healing centaur, like a good centaur in Greek mythology, and this was a wound that this centaur was not able to heal, even though he was a healer and a teacher, you know, and sometimes, you know, you look at a teacher or a guru or someone who you see as above you, and if they can't figure it out, you know, or heal something or problem solve something, it's kind of like, oh, you know, even my teacher, you know, is flawed, you know, because, you know, regardless of if someone has like a title leadership role, who looks like they have it all, they are a human being and they have problems too. They are not perfect. They do not always have the answers. So, you know, be a little bit compassionate about other people because they have a Chiron placement just like you. And if we all kind of become more aware of our Chiron placement, because it is like a big factor in my what, you know, here we go, in my perspective, yeah. In my perspective, Chiron is a big one to try and focus on and heal. The next one is Saturn, and another one is your North Node, South Node. So please subscribe and check out those videos if I haven't posted them quite yet. You know, you have your big three, Sun, Moon, and Rising in astrology if you're new to astrology. And if you're digging deeper into it, you know, Chiron, Saturn, North Node, South Node. Those are three big ones that I would also dive into, as those three, the Chiron, Saturn, and North Node, South Node thing, are going to be big factors as to how you kind of grow and evolve as a soul, what you came here to do in this lifetime, what is very unique and authentic for you as a human being, you know, regardless of how society is structured or how whatever culture or place in the world you live in, how that is structured. This is more personalized to you. And if you've kind of helped figure that out, you'll kind of have more guidance, you know, as to where you're supposed to kind of go in life, you know. And it can kind of also make you feel heard, make you feel like there's nothing wrong with you. This is just something that you have to work on. You may reflect on childhood as to like connecting the dots of how these kind of struggles may have initiated. You know, like for me, I have Chiron and Gemini, and when I was growing up, the environment was pretty quiet, you know, and I'm a Libra rising, you know, and so I tended to, what I naturally went towards is kind of sensing, you know, I'm very intuitive. I kind of sense, engage the environment, the room. I read body language, facial expressions. When I hear someone say something, you know, I'm not just listening, I'm trying to hear them. And I also notice when I'm not heard because I say something, and based on the response someone gives me, I'm like, yeah, they didn't get what I was trying to say. And then I determine, you know, is it important enough or not to intervene, or it's like, yeah, it's like whatever, it's not important, so I'll just let it go. This is something that you can kind of work on and be just more compassionate and empathetic about other people in your scenario. And the more and more people who come to this realization, awareness, level of consciousness, as you know, there's more and more and more levels of consciousness and awareness, then, you know, you can help prevent hurting other people unintentionally. You know, yeah, because usually it's not intentional, hopefully, you know, but when you're more aware of yourself, number one, you can catch yourself when it's actually happening, or you're like, oh crap, you know, like I did it again, you know, and then you can try and work on it over time, you know, or recognize different things, you know, because if you're not aware of it, you're not going to fix it. You're just going to overlook it. You may realize that, you're just living on survival mode. You're just trying to feel loved and seen and appreciated so much to where you're kind of blinded by what you're actually doing, you know. So I think that's it for my little intro spiel, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, so I will start with the series after this, and it'll be time stamped down below if you want to kind of skip things. So yeah, okay, see you in a bit. Okay, so Chiron in Virgo. So basically, Chiron, the wounded healer, or your innermost wound that you feel kind of weak at, awkward at, not good at, or you just like, you don't know why, but you just freaking suck in this department of the Virgo area. And it seems to be kind of a recurring theme that just keeps popping up over and over again. And this is your wound that you have come to heal. And hopefully once you heal it, you are actually really, really, really good at it, and you can help other people heal this wound as well. So Virgo is like the perfectionist. It is about our daily routines, our habits, health, pets, discernment, or noticing the fine detail and literally everything. It can be very, very critical, and it could be, so like health, that's like the biggest one. It could be general health, your physical health, holistic health, actual medicine, mental health, your routine. Maybe you have like ADHD and you always beat yourself up because, you know, you just lose track of your thought or things. And Virgo is also organization, lists, OCD, cleanliness, routine, structure, order, building up on, like, you know, the small little things that you do on a day-to-day basis, and eventually you grow and become like a master at something because you've dedicated time, effort, for hours every day over many years, and then that's how you grow and evolve or become better or a master at something. So that's like the structural routine. And so maybe because Chiron is almost like taking the opposite of this department of Virgo, or whatever the archetype that you have Chiron in, or whatever house you have in it. If you have Chiron in Virgo, look at that, as well as the house that it is placed. Look at that sign interpretation as well, and you're gonna combine the two and see how it's really playing out for you. But basically, in a nutshell, Virgo is all about being, or attempting to be, perfect. So it is the opposite. So for example, I have like a skin thing here. I have eczema, sometimes psoriasis a little bit, and it randomly comes up and it decides to stay for a really, really long time. And no matter what I do, or if I go to the doctor, get steroid ointment or whatever, maybe it'll temporarily help, but it doesn't really go away. Or you have a wound of like, okay, it has to do with food, what you eat and drink. It's way deeper on an internal holistic level, and you might really, really strive to work and heal this wound of, you know, like now you have to super duper duper clean up your diet. But if you know, have any setbacks, you eat that one tiny brownie or something that had just 1 gram of sugar in it or something, you might beat yourself up for it because now it activated like a skin condition or concern, or what do you call it, like a immune disorder, something that it just kind of pops up. It's not very easy to kind of detect and clean it up, and you want to fix it really, really well, or being a little bit obsessed and OCD about fixing it. Or, you know, you can think of it as like simple, I guess not simple, but feeling wounded in the day-to-day routine, feeling wounded in order, feeling wounded with structure, or noticing the fine print, feeling wounded in the details, or using discernment, noticing the red flags, or, you know, being structured and organized. Like there's something happening to you that is kind of preventing you or making it more challenging and hard for you to strive for this perfection that you really crave and desire, or what you like really admire. Like you want perfection, but there's always something that's kind of getting in the way of you kind of attaining that. So it's very involved with health, your routine, your structure, organization, kind of your routine or cleanliness, your pets, possibly, and like your self-esteem. A lot of the signs, I have to say, like deal with self-esteem type things, but it's like in their own unique way. Chiron in Virgo could be like, it's ruled by Mercury, so kind of mental health issues or anxiety, depression, being too critical on yourself or perfectionistic, never good enough, never not being able to help others enough, or not able to help others with their particular concerns or problems, you know, like, oh, I can't solve their problem or fix them well enough or perfect enough, you know, because it's hard and puzzling, you know. It's just like, oh, this is like, are you sure that, you know, you stayed away from sugar? Like, are you sure that you exercised? Or like, what did you do? Or how did you do it? Or how many reps did you do it for? How much weight? Maybe you didn't do it like this, you know. And you can get, Virgos can get into this point of being over critical or over criticizing, over nitpicky, kind of like gets to the point where you're kind of putting yourself or others down, not because you want to put them down, but it's just like, you're trying to solve the problem, and it's like, you need to do this, you need to do that. Well, you didn't do this enough, or you need to do this, or you say you're going to do that, but you never do it. And it's like going down the rabbit hole of, you know, trying to solve something, but never really feeling like you're good enough, or it's perfect enough, or the presentation is what you would like it to be. So you're just feeling wounded in this thing of like day-to-day routine or health, in some way, shape, or form. So that can play out in so many different ways, or can like hold you back, kind of over and over and over again, that it's coming up to where you're really trying to solve it or fix it or get to the root problem, and you know, try to heal it. So that's why it's like really focused on health, fitness, medicine, but at the same time feeling kind of awkward and not good in that at the same time in some sort of way, and that can play out in a variety of ways. So just, you have to learn to be like okay with imperfection, learn to let go, learn to not nitpick and put down yourself or other people. If you're trying to heal and fix yourself, sometimes that can create even more problems. You know, when you kind of stress yourself out or stress others out, it can kind of make you want to give up, or bring down your own self-esteem and self-worth, as there's no such thing as perfection. It can, if you're trying to help someone else and you're being too hypercritical, that can make them kind of stuck and they need like space and time to actually want to do that on their own, because you are kind of too forceful in trying to fix them or overly perfect them, because you want to help, but sometimes you can hurt others by trying to overly help when they're not ready for that kind of help. So kind of be careful of that. That goes for all kind of Virgo type things. But that is kind of like the main thing with Chiron in Virgo, is a focus on health, and routine, organization, details, discernment, and feeling kind of awkward or not very good at those things, and it keeps coming up, but you're striving to perfect it, usually, because usually when we feel like we want something so bad but we're not really good at it, but there's some kind of motivation for you to want to overcome and fix it, you're gonna kind of really focus on how can you fix that. Like, you might be someone who's like, I'm not going to drink alcohol. I'm not going to be like the other 20-year-olds in the past, where they all drank so much. It's so bad for you. It's not good for your skin, not good for your kidneys and liver, whatever. I don't understand the point of getting blacked out drunk in college or whatever. Why would you do that? And it creates all this kind of negative stuff. So you might not want to drink. You're the new generation. If you're in that age group where, they're saying less and less people in this age group are doing drugs and alcohol compared to previous generations. And this might be because you have this Chiron in Virgo, if you're in that age bracket. But you're also going to be really, really good at fixing other people's health. You can be a master because you're trying to use these holistic ways of healing instead of actual drug medications. You really seek and learn all these old school herbal remedies, which are coming back, and maybe you are a Chiron in Virgo person because it helps with natural healing. It's more sensitive to the body, and it doesn't damage it more, like going back to our own ancestral roots of holistic medicine to cure and help people, and making that a culturally popular thing. That can be something that you're into, and incorporating something like that into your day-to-day routine in order to help you create this kind of perfect sense of holistic health, and it radiates out into your skin, makes you look younger, your hair looks healthier, you'll have more longevity in your life, prevent more health issues. So there's something more powerful and healing to what you strive for with this perfectionism, because you have some kind of unusual medical condition that you can't really pinpoint and fix, such as like eczema or psoriasis or something else that's kind of hard, or like a mental illness, which a lot of mental health things, if you improve your diet and clean up your diet, it helps a lot with mental health diagnoses, as well as incorporating a fitness routine. So you are most likely into all of those things because you're trying to become so perfect, or notice all these little things like, oh, I need to be in a certain percent body fat and maintain that. How do I do that? With healthy food and exercise, or what kind of exercise, what kind of level of effort. Do you do cardio, resistance training, running, swimming, yoga, Pilates? You know, all of these types of things are going to be probably of some kind of interest to you. And then how do you create a really healthy routine? How do you do that? So this way you can strive for a better body, better mental health, better skin, whatever it is for you. And so remember that it comes from within. Whatever imperfections that you don't like, you embrace your uniqueness, and that is just part of being a human. You are unique the way that you authentically are. You're not supposed to be a robot. You know, you're a human being and you have flaws, and life is filled with ups and downs. That is the human experience. Things are just going to happen and stress you out and not really go your way, and that can cause health things afterward, like stress and trauma, and all those things can lead to weird random health ailments. And then, you know, you have to work on it and adapt and find out what works for you. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what Chiron in Virgo would be like. If you heal your Chiron in Virgo wound, you basically have a superpower. So in some way, shape, or form, you're going to be really, really good at it and know how to help heal other people. So instead, maybe you're going to invent all these preventative, natural, cheap ways of healing and preventing cancers and all kinds of stuff that will help a lot more people, and it's way more affordable, and you're gonna kind of help teach and make it a kind of a cultural, like, accepted thing, to where it changes the course of how we heal people in healthcare. You know, there's something about you from whatever you experienced or what you always had to keep going through over and over again, and you try to figure it out and weed it out or whatever in order to just survive and not die, or, you know, break out in all kinds of rashes or something. There's something that you are learning through this experience that you keep getting hurt at or feel wounded in, that you will find what works for you, and you can help teach and heal a lot of people in this department of 6th house of Virgo, of day-to-day routine. How do you incorporate whatever, you know, you started to do in your day-to-day routine to achieve this kind of perfection, or achieve optimal health, or achieve mental and physical well-being, and whatever it is that you did, or how do you look young forever, or, you know, incorporating all these different things that are not common to whatever culture that you live in, but, you know, as a group, you can actually make a lot of influence to your society and community by, like, changing what the norm should look like. You know, we should move away from all of these things that are negative and accelerate poor health, or lead to cancer, kidney failure, whatever, or accelerate mental health problems. And how do we move in a direction that is more natural and preventative and cheaper, more affordable and healthier, that can help like make everyone better. Because if everyone's healthier and happier, then they're more likely to spread, you know, joy and not like attack people in anger and stuff because they're not happy within themselves. So, or be emotionally stable, all kinds of stuff. So you have a superpower, whatever you're learning through your own unique personal experience. You can help others, and that doesn't mean that you know how to fix everything. Just because you strive for perfection doesn't mean that you have to be perfect, or means that you have to know everything. That's impossible. So embrace imperfections, learn to be okay with things not going to plan all the time, or numbers, you know, fluctuating on the scale, or, you know, whatever, you know, Excel spreadsheet that you are trying to formulate in order to reach your goal. Things don't always have to be perfect. You know, it just has to move overall in that direction, and that's usually an up and down, swirly kind of way. So don't beat yourself up, because Virgo, or Chiron in Virgo, has a lot to do with perfectionism. Maybe you have body dysmorphia, or, you know, like anorexia, bulimia, all kinds of things that deal with health, or weird stuff that happens with skin, or, you know, all kinds of stuff. So there's something that you have worked on, and you found like a niche in that can help a lot of people in the healthcare department, or being more structured, people who have ADHD and they have a hard time organizing or losing track of time. There is something that worked for you that can help a lot of people, or like ASMR type stuff, or, you know, EMDR therapy, you know, or maybe you create a new type of therapy that seems to work for a population that doesn't exist, but it worked for you, and then you tried it out on other people who were willing to go with the experiment, as long as it doesn't hurt other people, and now you've found something out that is very healing. So that is your superpower, and I have to say it's a really good one. So next will be Virgo through the houses, how it might be playing out, as an example. So if you have Chiron and Virgo in the first house, this is the house of self. So you might feel, because the first house is Aries, so go check out Chiron and Aries videos to kind of see the combination of how this is playing out for you. Having Virgo within the physical body, Chiron in the first house, you might not feel perfect enough, or you pick yourself apart and say like, oh, my pores are too big, or like my nose doesn't look the way that it should, or I have little tiny wrinkles over here, I need to hurry up and get on it, even if it costs me like $2,000, you know, like whatever it is. It's like, ugh, like I don't look perfect enough, this needs to be like this, my arms are, you know, like too that, or whatever, or thighs are too big, or it's grown like 1 centimeter, you know, like being very, very nitpicky with yourself, or beating yourself up, as well as trying to find ways on how to improve yourself. So that is like a wound that you keep kind of probably feeling in some way, shape, or form of your physical body, however that is playing out, and not feeling good enough or perfect enough, and maybe being too critical of yourself and your actual physical body, or being kind of wounded in your personality, or like criticizing yourself of like, I should have said something like this, or I came across like an asshole, or and kind of beating yourself up of what you should and shouldn't have done. So learning how to kind of be okay with imperfection, or learn to let go, or like other people don't care as much as you do, or they didn't think about all of the things that you're thinking about. You're kind of going down a rabbit hole of like doom and gloom. So just kind of be mindful if you're doing something like that or going down that route. Okay. Chiron in Virgo in the second house. So this is our self-worth, self-value, and the material things that we own, our personal bank account, or look at Taurus, research Taurus or Chiron in Taurus. So feeling wounded in your finances, or not having the right amount of finances, or spending too much, or feeling wounded with like all these like subscriptions that just keep piling up on your credit card, and being like, why do I need this? I shouldn't have spent it on like that, or I want to be able to afford this, or I can't do that, or so it has to do with the things that you own, your self-worth, self-esteem, and being kind of too nitpicky and critical of yourself, or not feeling good enough in that department, or using discernment with how you spend money or what you choose to buy in order to feel better and look better, or look perfect, and whatever your definition of what perfect should look like, and then feeling wounded in your bank account in order to achieve that kind of perfection, to kind of fill the void of your self-esteem, of needing or feeling like you need to spend money in order to achieve perfection, or cosmetic surgery, or like expensive hair stuff, like anything to make you feel more perfect, but then at the same time it wounds your finances and your bank account. So then you might feel wounded again by how you're trying to heal your wound. You are also hurting yourself. So you have to accept, be within your limits of spending, so you don't hurt yourself even more, or put yourself in a situation where you wanted something but you didn't necessarily need it, and like learning to organize your priorities based on that, and not trying to heal yourself with these external things that you might feel like you need even more after that, because it comes from within. Okay. Virgo, Chiron and Virgo playing out in the third house is going to be more about communication, learning, speaking, reading, writing, connecting, communicating. So it's an air sign. So feeling like not good enough when you speak, or it's like the words that you choose, or the way that you said it, or it's not like a polished, pristine way of speaking, and you might beat yourself up on that. Or how do you present a presentation in a very flawless way, whatever you defined as perfect, you might beat yourself up on it, or strive to be like, you need to be able to speak and pronunciate in a way that is so clear and communicative, so the audience can hear you clearly, comprehend what you're trying to say, and the way that you present and speak is like a perfect, like a robot, that is so pristine and clear, and everyone just understands what you're trying to say. And sometimes that's impossible because a lot of people don't hear people in the way that they hoped. And that's why there's a ton of miscommunications in the world. Not everyone is receptive to how other people speak. Some people are more receptive to people who speak super duper fast, and some way slower and more complicated, you know. So it just has to deal a little bit more in the department of reading, writing, learning, communicating, speaking, community, your siblings, close neighbors and friends, close distance travel, and maybe feeling wounded in the details, like when you're driving on the freeway or whatever, and you keep missing the signs to exit, or just feeling wounded, like unnecessary weird stuff when it comes to traveling or communicating, feeling misunderstood, or people weren't clear about their instructions, or you didn't hear instructions clearly and you missed something, and that led to, you know, something else going wrong and another thing going wrong because someone completely miscommunicated something or left out a fine detail, or you missed on a fine detail or print, or you have ADHD and you're like, oh, I didn't like read that or get that at all, and it's been in front of my face the entire time, and it just keeps happening to you. So you feel wounded somehow in that way. Yes. You know, trying to come up with more stuff, but it's not coming. Chiron and Virgo in the 4th house. Perhaps feeling not good enough, not being able to help enough, or, you know, like serve your family, help out around, like you're an F up or something, according to your family, or you're not perfect enough, or you don't fit in to the ideal family bubble of what your family expects of you. So you always feel wounded by your family or your childhood upbringing, like being criticized all the time. You need to do this, you're not skinny enough, or why does your hair look like that, or your belly is popping out of your pants, you know, like you're always being criticized and picked on within your family bubble or family upbringing, or like not organized in the family, like a very disorganized, not clean. You know, this can play out in so many ways. Maybe you grew up in a household where it was a single parent, you know, it wasn't, you know, a happy rainbow, la la land dream, you know, family upbringing. And maybe a parent is extremely depressed or a hoarder, and that is your parent, and that's what you're stuck with, and you feel wounded somehow with health. They didn't provide you with the proper nutrition or routine, or developing a routine, or learning how to, you know, properly clean yourself, because you just grew up in an environment where it was already dysfunctional, and you don't have those basic concepts of how do normal people even function or build a routine, because it's so alien for you, for example. But then when you work on it, kind of get out of the house, you're able to create your own life, create your own structure, create your own health routine, fitness routine. You know the contrast of what you didn't get and what you learned over time, and how that affected your physical body and your mental health and well-being, and how all of these things relate. You know, that is just an example. Okay. Chiron in the 5th house, or Virgo in the 5th house. Fifth house is the house of Leo. So if you want to check out that video, maybe being not good enough or perfect enough when it comes to dating, not feeling desirable enough or attractive enough with relationships or romance or creativity, not almost like a Martha Stewart kind of energy, like having to be so perfect and the standards are so high with how you entertain or how you present stuff at a party, or how do you look, how do you present yourself. You might be overly critical or wanting perfection at such a high level that you always find something to nitpick and criticize on yourself. Or you might feel like you don't serve enough or entertain enough, you know, so you have to really overdo it, or you just don't want to do it at all because it needs to be overly lavish, or you have to overgive food, you know, like something perfect. Your presentation on the plate, it needs to be a certain way. Otherwise, you might not feel like you're good enough, or you're not going to be accepted, or, you know, someone's going to notice that the chip doesn't look, you know, aesthetically pleasing, or the taste, you know, on whatever doesn't go, the wine doesn't go with the cheese, you know, and someone's going to notice that. But something to do with entertainment, being entertaining, you know, like how you present yourself. Does, you know, oh, like I need to lose some fat on my face, you know, if I'm going to be on TV, or I have wrinkles, you know, and like, oh, we can't have wrinkles on TV, you know, like we need to hide it. We need more light on our face, all kinds of stuff. So, you know, don't forget, beauty comes from within. Nobody is perfect. You know, so if other people criticize or whatever, that says a lot about them more than it does you. As long as you're in a healthy bubble, not like, oh, I don't think, you know, this girl has showered in like a year, you know, like, okay, that, you know, be realistic with yourself. However that is playing out for you. Or organizing like entertainment and dates, you know, feeling like not good enough, or being planning out a perfect date well enough, and so you're going to be rejected because you didn't plan all the details, you didn't do what you didn't organize, or make a reservation, and you didn't have a backup plan, or you forgot to get gas before you picked up your date, and so you're late for your date, and then you're late for your reservation, and then you missed your reservation, and now your date is angry at you. So all kinds of stuff relating Virgo and the fifth house. That's kind of what that is in a nutshell. Chiron and Virgo playing out in the sixth house. So this is like a double whammy. So health, perfectionism, organization on the day-to-day. So it is in the actual house of day-to-day routine, your health routines, and your pets. So it's just kind of playing out more on a daily basis. This wound, whatever you're doing or interacting with on a day-to-day basis, you're more likely to kind of get reminded of this wound more and more when you go out, or it is noticed, or you feel like whatever you do have or you're struggling with, you have to struggle with it even more on a day-to-day basis. So it might be like an actual health issue that you have to live with, or work with on a day-to-day basis, or to something visible. Maybe you have like a skin, like alopecia, or something to where it's very noticeable and people kind of look at you, often and you feel kind of awkward, or like, oh my God, like people are always looking at me because I have this weird, skin disorder or rash that's very exposed, or maybe you lose your hair, you have like a hair loss disorder that's very rare, and you are wounded by it on a day-to-day basis, and when you go out, you try to hide it, but you try to heal it at the same time, like figure out like, how do I resolve this problem? Is there some kind of unique cure or whatever, so you feel wounded by it, but you're always trying to find out how to fix it, how to heal it. Those are just a few examples. Chiron and Virgo in the 7th house, so it's the house of Libra, house of relationships. You may feel like people that you get into a relationship with reflect the wound that you do have, or they are very open and nitpicky about your wounds, or like, you should do this, or you should do that, or why you keep doing that. That's going to create more skin disorders or whatever, or they're going to make it more pronounced, the things that are wrong with you technically, and that doesn't always help, or like you just feel wounded or overly criticized, not good enough for the person that you're in a relationship with, or you don't meet their needs, or you don't serve them the way that you feel like you should serve them, or they point out that, hey, you never cook dinner, you never do the laundry, or I always have to do everything, and you always leave the socks or whatever all over the place, or you never clean up after you cook, and I always have to do that, and I already worked all day long and you didn't have to do anything all day. What are you doing? Like, it is kind of that you don't feel good enough in a relationship, and they're making that aware to you, or you already know that and you already feel bad, but you have a hard time, there's something that is, you get distracted, or you're really tired, or you're really depressed, and you have a hard time getting yourself to do these things, or don't feel motivated, or you're distracted, like the kids pulled you to the side, or someone else, and you can't do everything, or you don't know how to multitask, so you don't feel good enough. So that is kind of like how it can play out for you. And then figuring out what is a better structure, learning how to communicate with your partner. Hopefully, because you can't control other people, hopefully you pick someone who at least communicates and is on the same maturity level as you, and you can kind of figure what works for the both of you, because it takes two, or it takes all parties who are involved in whatever situation. Like, I will do this and you will do that, or on these days I agree to do this, and would you help me do X, Y, or Z, or whatever, because I can't do everything, or they can't do everything, and you need to work as a team, and not put each other down, or like, it would help if you didn't constantly criticize everything that I did wrong, because when you keep doing that, it makes me feel like I don't want to even do it anymore, and if you didn't do that or criticize me, then I was about to do it, but you opened your big mouth, and now I feel down, and I want to lock myself in the room and not do it anymore, so communicating whatever is going on with y'all, and how you naturally respond, knowing yourself and forgiving yourself for not being perfect, because no one is perfect, otherwise yourself or the other person needs to just learn how to do everything on their own, and just learn how to be single, and you're gonna realize what the other person did do, or what they did provide when you have lost it. So not to make you more anxious, but those are just some examples of how things end up playing out slowly over time. Chiron in Virgo in the 8th house. So 8th house is the house of Scorpio. So check out that video to get more information. Virgo or Chiron in Virgo in the 8th house, you can feel not good enough in bed, not good enough with sex. Maybe you have some kind of perfectionist kind of wants or whatever with the actual genitals, you know, like, oh, it doesn't look a certain way that you would want to. You have some kind of anxiety or anxiousness about how things look down there, or you know, whatever things that you do in order to feel perfect or better. How to improve that. That is like what you might feel anxious or not good at, but at the same time you're going to try and fix or resolve or figure out how to be better or more desirable or perfect in this department. 8th house also represents secrets, like noticing the details of hidden truths or secrecy, deception, kind of being a detective, maybe being kind of fearful or not trusting and going down that rabbit hole. So just be careful if you do that. Sometimes you can create something that didn't exist originally, and when you kind of keep poking at or assuming or kind of criticizing your partner about something that is within your own fearful mind, it gets exhausting for the other person, and they don't, you know, if they're innocent, nothing is actually going on. They're always feeling like bullied that they're doing something that's not even happening because you're so worried about something or fearful that you're going to be betrayed or you're not good enough and someone's going to leave you. Then they end up wanting to leave because it's so exhausting. This can also be feeling wounded in inheritance, taxes, debt, joint resources, in-laws, and then kind of being very critical, analytical, and perfectionist of, you know, those wounds and like the mishaps that happen, or not noticing the details, or questioning it of like, if we got married and joined resources, what is going to happen? What is the actual situation? You know, when we get together, maybe you assumed when you join together, you know, your finances and your partner's finances are just going to be together, but then it ends up that, you know, you have to support you and your partner's income just goes to their family, and you didn't realize that's what was going to happen, or the family has a lot of wounds and trauma and problems that are going on, and it's not like it's your partner's fault. It's just pulling income and finances towards that area in order to help their family. And so now you feel wounded because you're just tied into that, you know, and then you feel like, oh, I imagined this perfect, you know, family situation, and when we were going to join together, it was going to be like this, and it was going to solve the problems or whatever, and it ended up not going the way that you thought, you know, and then you feel more wounded or feel like, oh, I should have noticed these details and I didn't, or I didn't ask certain questions, or what did they believe in how things should be done, or what did I even believe what should be done, or I didn't think about any of this, who would have, you know, and then feeling wounded with all of those types of things in your day-to-day routine and your livelihood and how it's affected with joint resources, in-laws, taxes, debt, secrets, things like that. Yeah. Chiron and Virgo in the 9th house. So 9th house is Sagittarius house, if you want to look at that video. And Sagittarius is about higher philosophical belief systems, religion, international travel, international everything, languages, culture that are just different and foreign to you, things that feel far away. And then Virgo is like, maybe you feel wounded in Medicare kind of thing, like in how medicine is structured, or how you were taught in medicine and you weren't taught quite correctly, or they withheld a lot of information, or you know, because Virgo is kind of like the house of health, and then you're putting it in the house of belief systems, how you were taught, that kind of structural hierarchy of religion, belief systems, school systems, healthcare systems. You know, it's like the belief, teachings, and philosophy of how things are and how things are taught, of how you should do something, or how you should resolve something, and maybe you are wounded in like how you were taught, and it doesn't actually help or cure anyone, and you don't know why, or feeling kind of wounded or not good enough in the belief system or religious system or the teaching system, being very nitpicky or not good enough to serve in that department, or there's something about yourself where you feel like you are just kind of awkward in it, or not good enough, not perfect enough, or something to do with healthcare and teaching. So combined those two things, or not noticing all the details with whatever you're learning or whatever you're taught or what was instructed in a textbook or professor or your supervisor, you know, how things were just done. You just feel kind of wounded in, or not taught the right way, or not thorough enough, not noticing all these details that kind of went by, and so you missed out on a whole sector or section of how your philosophy and belief system of how to help cure people, or how do you teach people, was kind of not quite there. That's just an example. I hope that made sense. So yeah, Chiron in Virgo in the 10th house. So 10th house is our Capricorn house, if you want to check out videos on that. Not feeling perfect enough in your career or your public image, in wanting to strive to correct that or fix that, or always constantly feeling wounded in career, or missing the fine details, or using discernment in your work or career, or how you make money, or maybe, you know, you helped heal yourself so much in this kind of Virgo healthcare daily routine that you end up becoming really good, or having a niche in making money in your career, because you're wounded in a certain thing, and you're able to actually make a career out of this wound because it's in the actual 10th house. Or, you know, people just see you publicly as kind of wounded in some kind of health thing. They just notice that, you know, you always kind of go through problems when it comes to some kind of health care or health regimen. or the public or the world just kind of notices that you kind of tend to always have problems with perfectionism or body image or not being good enough, and you kind of overly do something in order to feel good enough. Like you overly do cosmetic surgery or a full body makeover. You know, it's like very obvious to the public that you have this insecurity wound, and then you went so far to spend a ton of money and go through a lot of pain in reconstructive surgery for the sake of looks, not necessarily health. Or maybe it is for a major health thing that you had to go through some major surgery, but it's something to do with either it's playing out in your actual career, or it is visually seen to the public that, you know, like when people do a lot of cosmetic surgery or full body surgeries and it's pretty obvious, that is kind of like a walking billboard that you have some kind of deep insecurity to the point where you're going to go under the knife and go into a lot of debt. Or people know, like, you work at a cafeteria as a lunch lady and you did a full body makeover. How did you get the money to do that? You know, like, you're going to feel wounded in some way in your public image, or how people see you, or how you try to hide your imperfections, but the world notices because you tried to overly hide your imperfections, you know, and so, you know, you get wounded again in like a different way, you know. So remember that, you know, it comes from the inside of healing and feeling like nobody is perfect. It's okay. It's learning to really accept who you are and what your true value is, the qualities that you bring to the table, what you have learned, your skills, your personality. Are you actually kind to people? How do you treat others? That has more value than just your looks or what the visual is on the outside. And sure, you know, it is important to a degree. We do live in a society where looks do influence a lot. And so, but feeling that on the inside is how you truly heal. Because you're always going to want more, or it's not going to be good enough, you know, and it's this kind of revolving thing that just keeps coming up of, you spent $50,000 on a full body makeover, and then a year later you're still unhappy and you don't know why, or you don't know how to fix it, because it comes from deep, deep within. Yeah. Chiron in Virgo in the 11th house. So 11th house is our Aquarius house. If you want to check out videos on Chiron in Aquarius, or just learn about Aquarius energy, this will be something like feeling wounded with friendships and networking, technology, not being good enough, or being overly criticized from your friends and network groups, not noticing the details when it comes to interacting with them, feeling maybe backstabbed or criticized, or not good enough, not perfect enough to be accepted in a friendship or network circle. Or, you know, when, you know, it's not, you know, when we network with people, sometimes you're trying to promote your business or try to market yourself or brand yourself, and, you know, people are more receptive to maybe how you look, how you present yourself, how you speak, and maybe not feeling good enough with how you pronunciate something, or how did you give your presentation or your speech, or how did you dress, how do you look. People don't take you seriously enough for this role, or you look a certain way and it's not very accepted in the world of like doctors. Like, you know, you're too good looking, you know, and so they don't take you seriously. They see you as a sex object, you know, and you feel wounded and not good enough for your actual mind and intelligence, you know, and looked at for like physical attributes instead. So in some way you feel wounded from your friendship and network circles, or your health and routine. Maybe you get made fun of for your weight, or made fun of, or, you know, people criticize your lips are too small or they're too big. They have something to criticize and nitpick about your insecurities of how you present yourself, and you try to cover that up or try to fix it. But then, you know, people have comments and stuff in order to whatever, and then you feel wounded. So finding ways to heal yourself, probably more in a natural way, is going to be more accepted. Yeah. So it just depends on you and how your situation is kind of playing out. But basically, it's just not feeling good enough, perfect enough, or knowing how to serve your friends, being a good enough friend, because Virgo is the house of service, you know, or your friends don't, you know, help you in the way that you feel like they should help. Maybe it's not like a real friendship. It's kind of like they only come around when they need something from you, and not, you know, not like a true friendship, you know. So Chiron and Virgo in the 12th house. This could be like wound in mental health, wound in the subconscious mind, feeling like not perfect enough in your own mind. It's kind of hidden from everybody else. No one really knows what you're kind of going on. Maybe you're super self-critical and you have a hard time sleeping because you're like going through all the imperfections that are going on and on and on in your mind in the 12th house, where it's not seen. It's like a hidden house, place where it's kind of isolated and away, or stuck in your dreams, or, you know, it's places that seem far, far away, like a distant land, a dreamland, a prison, asylum, a hospital. It's a place where you're kind of stuck in a space, or in a hospital bed, or in a place where it's just really quiet and no one's just really there or tending to your needs necessarily, or you're kind of limited, because hopefully in a hospital you are being tended for your needs, but you're kind of stuck, or limited, to where you are, and you have to be alone with your thoughts sometimes. So Virgo here, or feeling wounded in Virgo, or feeling wounded in like health or your day-to-day routine, is kind of wounded in your mind in some way, shape, or form. So that concludes Chiron in Virgo. I hope this was informative in some way, shape, or form for you, and it resonated enough, because I do not have Chiron in Virgo. I have Chiron in Gemini, but I understand Virgo stuff. So because I have planets in my 6th house, and my 12th house is ruled by Virgo, so it's kind of like my brain operates kind of like a Virgo. So if, you know, things were not, if I felt wounded in Virgo, these are things that I can come up with that I think someone who would have Chiron in Virgo might struggle with. So try to slowly build a routine. Start very small. Perfection does not happen overnight, and there's no way you can be perfect. But doing one tiny, doable, realistic thing and practicing that thing every single day, and then you'll build up on layers over time, to where it feels more effortless. If you're struggling with a routine or organization or multitasking or noticing all these little details that you need to do in structure and order, like if I need to do this, this takes this much amount of time, I need to do this first, then I can do this, like taking a little bit of time and space to kind of think and organize, like, how long does something take? Do you start with a certain order? Because the order of things can help. Like looking at the root cause of things, if it concerns your physical body, your health, number one, and then it kind of comes out into looks, if you actually work on it, if that is an issue for you. Like weight gain, if you need to lose weight, or body composition, you need to lift some weights, resistance training, but start realistically for you so you don't quit. You have to think longevity, be realistic, weightlifting and toning, or whatever word feels comfortable for you, like putting on muscle mass takes a long time, and then your diet has an effect, your sleep quality has an effect, stress management, time for yourself, rest, and whatever other things that you want to fit into your day. So it's like a little bit at a time. It's the daily routine, finding what your priorities are, what direction do you want to go, finding a good plan that is realistic on how to actually get there, moving through the struggle and resistance of fear or not being good enough or not being perfect enough, or the scales and numbers going up and down, and that might throw you off, and learning to accept like that is just completely normal. You're gonna hold on water weight sometimes. Life situations happen that kind of throw you off and throw you off your routine, and you have to learn to kind of get back on it when things kind of settle down, and don't be too critical or hard on yourself. So those are a few little tips if that applies to you. And it's a lot harder to actually do it than it is to like think it and hear it from so many people. It's like they all say the same thing. It's actually start really basic and simple, but you have to actually go do it and practice it every day for weeks, months, years, and be consistent and determined and patient. Maybe Virgo has to deal with a lot of patience, because it's the boring, dull, small little things that add up over, your lifetime that actually makes the biggest impact. And so learning to be patient through all of those things, and I try every single day. Any little struggle or hiccup, it's like a little pop test. It's a pop quiz of like, are you going to make a decision that holds you back, or is easy because it's comfortable, or are you going to take that one little pop quiz and take the steps, or learn to say no, or learn to not fall back into an old pattern or thought process or belief system, whatever it is, so you can progress. So, and then it's a practice again and again and again until you become so used to this new version of yourself, to where the old version is kind of like, oh, it doesn't feel that hard like it used to be, because you practice the tiny little discerning details of that day-to-day routine and practice. So if you feel wounded in those things, like you don't know how to do it, or you know, you want perfection so much or so fast that you feel frozen, or, you know, you give up too soon or you quit, and that's the struggle. You know, it's very simple, realistic things that you know will lead you in that direction. That's it. You pick the one simple thing, you practice that for like 1 month and see if you can keep that up, and then you add a new thing possibly. And you have to make sure you don't lose control of that first habit or step. You know, you have to keep adding. So yeah, I'll quit now of this little video. So hope to see you in my next videos. If you want to book a reading with me, it's like a pre-recorded reading. When I have time, I'll get it back to you as soon as possible. It's in my website, which the link is down below, www.natashascreativewellness.com. If I've even put out my book yet, go check that out. It should be on Amazon. I haven't put it out yet, but it will be there soon enough, I suppose. And yeah, check out my products and other things. Please like and share, subscribe for more videos so I don't get lost. You can find me. Check out my other playlists that are organized down below as well. So take care and see you later. Bye.